In next section, we are going to discuss the last subtopic in this chapter, which is emotion. So in these emotion subchapters, we are going to look at factors which relates to emotion. The first one, biological factors. Second one, cognitive factors. Third one, behavioral factors. And the last one, socio-cultural factors. First, before we look at the biological factors, what is emotion? Emotion refers to feeling or affect that can involve physiological arousal, conscious experience, and behavioral expression. So all these are the three components of emotion or feeling. So for it to be considered emotion, there must be some physiological arousal or physiological reactions in our body, in our nervous system. And there are also elements of conscious experience that we are at that particular time aware that we have that feeling. For example, we are sad and then crying. We are happy and then we are laughing. And or we are calm, okay, or we are frustrated. Okay, those are basically our awareness of our experience, our awareness of our feeling, or our conscious of our own emotion. And the third one, behavioral expression. Okay, refers to if you are angry, you are shouting. If you sad, you are crying. If you are happy, you are laughing. So those are basically the behavioral expression of emotion. The first factors that explain emotion from psychological perspective is biological factors of emotion. I think we also touched about this in the physiological chapter or biological chapter early in the semester. So I'm going to go briefly here. The sympathetic nervous system or SNS is involved in arousal and in the rapid reactions to a stressor. Okay, so this is the system where it will decide or will inform us whether if we face any stressful situation, we supposed to fight it or we supposed to fly, okay, to run away from it. For example, when you are walking back to your mahalla, walking back to your hostels, and you hear a dog barking, okay, and then when you turn your head, you see the dog running towards you. So your sympathetic nervous system will inform you, okay, you need to fly. So you run away and chasing your friends to your room. Go the other way around, you hear the dog barking and then you turn out, you don't see any dogs. So basically you decide to remain calm, relax, and you face the situation and you don't run away from the place. So that is sympathetic nervous system. Okay. Besides sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system also involved in our emotion. Okay. Usually it makes ourselves calm down. Okay. After the arousals. Okay. After the nervous, after the pumping heart rate that we experience, this is the system in our body that will make us goes back to calm down all of the arousal that has happened. Okay, emotions such as anger and fear are associated with elevated sympathetic nervous system activity. Okay, state of happiness and contentment also activate the sympathetic nervous system, but to a lesser extent as compared to other emotions such as anger and fear. Okay, so you can look at this figure on how it differentiates on every elements or every arousal that happen in our system based on each system, whether it's sympathetic nervous system or parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, here you can see clearly pupil dilation, for example, for sympathetic nervous system when we face danger, so we feel the fear, so our pupil will start to see the reaction. While parasympathetic, after the danger has over, okay, we no longer face the danger, so it will make ourselves calm down. Okay, we can see more clearly with a wider range of visions. Okay, heart rate, for example. So the sympathetic nervous system will, when we face the stressful situation, the arousal higher, then we will feel our heart pumping faster. Okay, after the risk over, so the parasympathetics will slow down back our heart rate to a normal rate that it used to be. Okay, same goes to other parts in the reaction in our body. Okay, you can see the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system activities. Okay, from these biological factors of emotion as well, there are two theories that explain how we experience emotion. One is James Lange theory of emotion, and the second one is Cannon-Bart theory of emotion. So both are considered as physiological theories of emotion. Okay, let's look at James Lange theory. Okay, the James Lange theory of emotion basically regard emotion as the result from physiological states triggered by stimuli in the environment. Okay, after the initial perception of a stimulus, the experience of the emotion result from the perceptions of one's own physiological changes. Okay, in a simpler explanation, okay, we take back the examples of when you going back to your hostels, you hear the barking of a dog. Okay, you hear the barking of the dog. So when you hear this barking, okay, at you, then your heart will pump faster. Okay, pupil dilation start to give reactions. So here, that physiological reaction give you or tell us in our mind, actually we are afraid. So basically, emotion happen after physiological reaction happen first. Okay, emotion come after physiological reaction. On the other hand, Cannon-Bart theory regards that actually our emotion and our physiological reaction occur simultaneously. Okay, so we feel the fear as well as we feel the emotional or the physiological reactions, pupil dilations, heart rate are pumping faster together or simultaneously more or less at the same time. Okay, so it's different. James Lange, physiological reaction first and then emotion. Cannon-Bart theory, both emotions and physiological reaction happen simultaneously. Another aspect that psychologists discuss about emotion from biological factors are the neural circuits as well as neurotransmitters involved in the development or production of emotion. Okay, in this case, neurotransmitter and neural circuit are involved in the production of certain hormones or neurotransmitters. For example, okay, dopamine and endorphins are linked to positive emotion. So when we experience positive emotion, happiness, for example, so our body are releasing dopamine or endorphin, or the other way around. When our body produce dopamine and endorphins, so we will experience more positive emotion. Okay, on the other hand, norepinephrine's regulate arousal and anxiety. Okay, when we face danger, when we face risky or harmful situations, so this is the neurotransmitter produced by our body. Okay, low serotonin is linked to an anger as well as aggression. Okay, and the persistence of negative moods. Say people, when they conduct research, they identify that people who experience negative mood, they also have low level of serotonin. Okay, and the last part, okay, one part of our brain or brain structure that involved in the regulation of emotion that we've learned before is the amygdala. Okay, amygdala involved in positive emotion, but also in negative emotion. Okay, in particular, the feeling of fear. Okay, so amygdala is the brain structure that are looking after these activities, okay, that regulate emotion. The second factors that talk and discuss about emotion is the cognitive factors. Okay, in cognitive factors, we have another theory that explain how human beings experience emotion. Okay, we can look at it from two factor theories of emotion. Okay, from this perspective, from this theory, emotion is determined by physiological arousal and cognitive labeling. Okay, physiological arousal only, physiological reaction only. Examples, heart rate pumping will not be regarded as emotion unless our thinking are telling us we are actually happy, or our thinking are telling us that we are actually afraid of something. We are nervous. Okay, we are anxious. Okay, So here it stress two important things: physiological reactions, what happened in our body, pupil dilations, heart rate pumping faster and everything, as well as our mind telling us that we are having a certain emotion. So this is important. Why? Usually people would understand that if someone cry because he or she is sad. Okay, however, you can see, especially during your graduation, okay, during your convocations, a lot of parents cry, but not due to sadness, but they cry because due to happiness, due to the feelings of fulfillment. Okay, in this sense, if we depend on the physiological and behavioral manifestation only, we might misinterpret the emotion. Okay, people might think that these people, these parents who are crying, that they are actually sad. Okay, but the other way around, these people are happy, even though their behavioral manifestation show otherwise. Okay, so this is the importance of cognitive labeling, understanding our thinking, what are emotion that we are experiencing at that particular time. Okay, so these two factor theories of emotion are developed by Stanley Schachter as well as Jerome Singer. So for them, we interpret our emotion, we interpret the situation, we interpret the external cues, and then we label the emotion. Okay, this is the cognitive labeling. We interpret, okay, we reason what is the emotion of what are our emotion at that particular times. Okay. However, we need to bear in mind that misinterpreted arousal intensify emotional experiences. Okay. So if people wrongly labeling information, wrongly labeling the physical arousal, wrongly labeling the experience, the emotion, it may intensify the emotional. It will be able to make you feel more happy or more sad, okay, more frustrated. So that is the one aspect that we need to pay attention from this theory, two-factor theory of emotion. Another important cognitive factors in emotion is to look or to identify which one is important. Okay, actually psychologists are debating which one, cognition, our cognitive labeling, or emotion, our subjective experience, which one is more important, which comes first, thinking or feelings. According to Richard Lazarus, he argued for the primacy of thinking, or in other words, for him, cognitive is more important than feelings. Okay, cognitive activity is basically a precondition for emotion, meaning that if we are unable to label or cognitively label the emotion, we will not be able to even experience that emotion. However, Robert Zajonc argued that emotions are primary and our thoughts are result of them. Okay, remember about James Lange theory? So when you are being chased or the dog bark at you, something happens in your body. Okay, there is a physiological reaction. So you will start to feel that your heart is pumping faster. Then you interpret that, oh, actually I am afraid. Okay, so that is the emotion. So according to Jung, emotion comes first, and then cognitive evaluation or cognitive labeling come later. Okay, there are also another perspective that think that both are actually correct. Okay, however, it's depending on which emotion in which situation that emotion or that experience happen. Okay, some emotional responses do not involve deliberate thinking. Okay, but others do. For example, deliberate emotion that involve deliberate thinking, sympathy. Okay, why? Because you evaluate the situations and you use quite a number of thinking and reasoning, then it creates sympathy. So thinking come first and then sympathy come later. However, in the case of anxious situation, fearful situation, then in that sense, emotion come first, okay, thinking come later as compared to the first example whereby thinking come first, emotion follows. Beside cognitive factors, behavioral factors also play an important role in human emotion. Okay, the behavioral components of emotion can be verbal or non-verbal. Okay, non-verbal such as facial expression. They don't say anything. They don't tell us that they are happy. They don't tell us that they are sad. They don't cry that we can hear they are crying. We don't laugh that we can hear they are laughing. But their facial expression manifests their emotion. Facial expression may be both reflect our emotions and influence our emotion. Okay, this is the idea known as facial feedback hypothesis. Okay, sometimes if you want to force yourself to feel happy, so you fake your laughing. Okay, you fake your smiling. So basically your facial expression here, and turn out you also you feel a little bit happy yourself. Okay, in this case, so basically your facial expressions influence your emotion. Okay, on the other way around, when you feel sad, and it shows that in your face you see glumness. Okay, we don't see happiness in on your face. Okay, so it's basically both can give feedbacks to us, and this feedback will influence our emotion. Okay, on the other way around, how do I know that you understand the subjects in class? Okay, so when I ask question, while I explain about concepts, so I can see some of you are showing a very critical face. Okay, some of you are showing a very curious face. Some of you don't even have the courage to look at me eye to eye, for example. So those are basically facial expression that manifest certain emotion. Emotional experience in this sense can be generated by changes in and awareness of our own bodily states. Okay, what happened physiologically? Okay, whether sim examples, okay, heart rate, pupil dilation, and everything. So these are basically can influence our emotional experience. Okay, being generated by our own awareness of our physiological reaction. Okay, the last factors that involve in the development or explanation of emotion is socio-cultural factors. Remember here, the combination of two concepts, social setting or social context, and cultural setting or cultural context. Socio-cultural factors in emotion also talk about facial expression, but they discuss more in terms of how we express our emotion in different contexts or across culture. So research found that facial expression of basic emotions appear to be universals. Okay, what it means here, example given, if people feel happy, they laugh. If people feel happy, they smile. If people feel sad, they cry. Okay, so these are basic emotion. And the expression of basic emotion is the same in Malaysia, it's the same in Indonesia, it's the same in Singapore, it's the same in China, it's the same in the rest of the world. This is where it's called as universal. Okay, everyone express similar behavioral expression. However, the display rules for those emotions are different according to culture, okay, different according to context. What is display rules? Display rules refers to socio-cultural standard, socio-cultural rules, socio-cultural policies, okay, socio-cultural belief that determine when, where, and how emotion should be expressed. Okay, again, display rule refers to socio-cultural standards that determine when, where, and how emotion should be expressed. Okay, some verbal signals appear to be universal indicators of emotion, but many others are vary from one culture to another. Okay, coming back, display rules. Display rules here, when we can express our happiness, how can we express our happiness, and where can we express our happiness. Okay, happiness we usually people express immediately, okay, in the settings that it triggers their emotion, okay, in workplace, in schools, okay, in social context. But if you look at other emotion, anger, frustration, disappointment, in some culture contexts, they don't express these negative emotion immediately in the public spaces, in the public setting. Okay, example, you frustrated with your friends. Okay, you frustrated with me, your lecturers. You frustrated with your boss. You don't express at the workplace. You don't express your emotion in class. Instead, when you go back to your room, when you go back to your house, you start to share your emotion, your frustration, your disappointment with your family members. You share your frustration with your roommates, with your housemate. Okay, so this refers to display roles. Some culture, they don't really pay attention when you can always express your emotion immediately. But in some culture, in some context, they don't display it immediately. They wait, okay, when they goes back to their spouse, when they goes back to their family, then they start to show emotion. Okay, they start to tell and share that they are actually very disappointed with their boss, okay, with their friends, with their lecturers, for example. So these are the important factors about emotion on the context of social and cultural factors, where we can see the difference of the display rules, but the consistency or universality of the emotion, especially basic emotion. So all of that are discussed in this motivation and emotion chapter. Okay, in the first part, we discussed 3 theories of motivation. Okay, evolutionary approach, uh, drive reduction theory, and optimum arousal theory. Okay, in the second part, we discuss about the application of motivation concepts, motivation principles, motivation theories in everyday life. Okay, we talk about Maslow hierarchy of needs. We talk about self-determinism theory. We talk about intrinsic and extrinsic type of motivation, and we talk about the importance of self-regulation. And just now, we just completed discussing on biological factors, cognitive factors, behavioral factors, and socio-cultural factors of emotion. Then that's all for this video. Thank you for your attention. See you again in the next lecture.